Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play the Kerbal Space Program. Again, I'm playing this mostly blind, and I do appreciate the fact that people are doing mostly spoiler-free tips. First of all, the reason in the last episode I think I kept forgetting to use the Science Junior module is because I'd already sort of recorded a second episode before I'd figured out the mission stuff, and in that one, I'd already done the science everywhere, so I was used to thinking that, no, I've already done the science in all these landings, and so it wasn't part of my kind of AI brain. Also, apparently ladders are a high-tech thing. What? I mean, I guess that explains why I was having, like, it doesn't make sense that it would be so complicated to try to climb back into the, to the module after doing an EVA. Look at this. We only get the first ladder here at space exploration. What kind of crazy nonsense is this? Anyway, I'm done with this, like, stupid low-level science stuff. I want to go into space. Like, come on. You know, it's fine that, yeah, we'll get a bit of an edge up, you know, by doing some of these silly little exploration things, but this is a game about going into space, so we're going to do that. And we are going to try, as much as possible, to, you know, maybe look at some of the, maybe how the Mercury system went, right? So the whole way that man went to the moon, way over here, the moon, is there was basically a three-step process in terms of manned spaceflight in America, right? I actually don't know the history of the Russian spaceflight system. Obviously, they're the first people to put a man into space, put first person to orbit, first person to do an EVA, etc., etc., etc. But they never went to the moon. At least they didn't do a manned mission to the moon, and we're trying to copy that. So the way NASA went about doing it is they had the Mercury, the Gemini, and the Apollo space programs in that order. And Mercury was basically about strapping someone to the top of a giant firecracker and trying to get them to space, trying to get into orbit. Then the Gemini one was sending two people at the same time, doing some EVAs, doing some dockings, and then finally you got Apollo, which involved going around the moon, actually doing some stuff in orbit first, and then finally going around the moon, and then finally landing on the moon and returning. So we're going to try to do sort of the Mercury level stuff, and basically I want to get into orbit at this point. Our first flight will probably just get to the edge of space. If we look at, no, not the science, that's not what I want. I want to check my mission status over here. Active is escape the atmosphere and orbit Kerbal, which we are going to do. Now, the big question mark you've got to, I think, ask ourselves in the first go is, do we bring the Science Junior module or not? And I think on this first flight, I will not. I will simply go for simple atmosphere escape, not even a full orbit. And now, you know what? We can do that. Hold on. And maybe we'll get high enough to do an orbit, but probably not. I guess if we're only aiming for upper atmosphere, and maybe even leave atmosphere but go suborbital, then we can afford to get a little bit of extra weight. What I did want to do is check the science thing to see. I can't remember, because again, I've done things in sort of weird order because I had to sort of replay that second mission. Did we do... No, we haven't done any high orbit or high altitude stuff at all. So we need high altitude science, and we need in space science, even if we're not actually orbiting. So I guess we'll build up a proper module at the top with the science bit that we will be returning with. So that means we're not going to have a decoupler. We're going to have the science bit right underneath there. That's quite a bit of extra weight. Also, thank you everyone who clarified what's going on with these micro landing struts. Apparently, because they count as landing gear, they actually are considered to be in the deployed state on launch, which means that I don't know where we want to go. I guess around there, which means the first time you hit G, they are retracting, even though that they are actually already retracted. The first tap of G just like double retracts them, and then it's the second tap that extends them again. So the hotkeys should work maybe in a bit more of a sensible manner than was previously expected. All right, let's go ahead and stick a parachute on top. So this is what we're going to be trying to return with. Oh no, we need some goo containers. For the purpose of symmetry, I will go with a pair of them. We might even get lucky and be able to, if we do leave space, we might be able to get one reading from high atmosphere and one from space. We could also stick an antenna on there, which will let us get 2 crew reports, but I don't think we need to rush that. I think that's going to be fine. And mostly, I just put 2 of these on there, so it's even weight distribution. I think they're pretty light. They are pretty light, and I'm assuming that the air... What am I talking about? The aerodynamics of them, they probably don't actually contribute that much drag, but we'll see. So this is the thing we're going to try to go with. We're going to try to land. So ultimately, if we're not trying to get into orbit, we don't really need maneuvering stuff. Oh, we don't even have the tech for it. So no, because I'm looking for that little, what's it called? The Badger, the Weasel, the Volrat. I don't know. There's another engine which I think is ultimately going to be fine. So this is what we're going to be trying to land with. So it really doesn't need its own stuff on it. We're just going to go up and come down. We might hit high atmosphere, we might hit space, but we're definitely not going to orbit, and that's going to be okay. So I'll put a decoupler right below that. Okay, so this is what we're hopefully going to recover. Under there, now, the Mercury flight, like, is basically just straight. They didn't use any, I don't know if they used any solid rocket boosters at all. I think it was all liquid fuel, and there were no side, like, there were no boosters on the side that you could split off. It was just a big straight line. I think it was still multi-stage, so we may still go ahead and do that. In particular, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the FL200 fuel tank, which is actually not that much, especially considering how much it's going to grab there. We really have no... Hold on. Let's call this... this is basically like Mercury-ish 1. Mercury-ish 1. I'm going to save that. Let me double check science. That we can't purchase... No, we only have 10. And indeed, that does not unlock... What do I want? It's like the advanced rocketry for 1. It's this thing here. The Terrier! Ah, it's not a Badger. The other thing would be very nice is... Oh, right here, yeah, the T400 fuel tank. So, we really aren't going to have a ton of juice. Now, I think you can stack multiple fuel tanks together. Effectively make our own T400. I think. I hope. Does it automatically link? I believe they do. God, I hope they do. If we do this... So basically, we've just made our own T400. If we compare here, the 100 to the 200, it's basically double mass and double the amounts. And I think the 400 is exactly the same. So it's just slightly more convenient. Okay, well, I guess we're going to find out. So I do want the swivel engine here, I suppose, since we will not get... If we're in the upper atmosphere, we're not really going to get to use our winglings very well. So they're not, by winglings, I mean, you know, fins and stuff. So we're going to use this for steering, but on the lower level, so let me go ahead. So we'll still make this a 2-stage. Probably overkill since we're, you know, aiming for upper atmosphere. Ideally space. Ideally we can use the same thing for both. Let's go ahead. We're going to go another one of these doubles. And then we're going to use the Reliant, which actually has higher thrust. You can see here the max thrust is 250. ASL VAC. I guess ASL is like in the atmosphere still, so it can get quite a bit more. And you know what? I've changed my mind. The bottom layer here, that's going to be overkill. Yeah, no such thing as too much overkill. We're going to do one of those, and then throw some fins on there. A foursome. Angle snap doesn't actually matter here. So it's going to just be a big flying dart, the solid rocket booster at the bottom, and then we'll leave that behind, go to our liquid fuel over here, using the gimbal to be able to steer a little bit better and keep our stability going, and then just go as high as we can, get some readings from all the things, parachute down. Alright, let's give it a try. Mercury-ish 1. The only question is, like, on the off chance that we don't have enough stability, but I think we will. I think these fins will be fine in our low atmosphere, which is the only time we care about this SRB. Plus, we get a little bit rotation from our module, but I don't think. I didn't actually double check that I've got my order right. This and that, and technically I could combine these two, but that's okay. We'll have it do 2 discrete steps. I'm going to turn on the SAS. I'm going to have full throttle waiting for me over here, and then we'll probably throttle back. Actually, you know what? No, we're going to start at like 2/3, and then we'll figure out where we want to go from there. Looks good. And then the parachute on top. All right, Jebediah, let's go. We are... Are we going to try... I guess we've got distant records and stuff we can do too. So once I do get out of the thinner atmosphere, or the thicker atmosphere rather, and I'm on my second stage where I can steer a bit more, I probably will do the like 45-degree to the east turn that you would sort of do for an orbital flight, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to get quite that far. We'll see. We'll see. High atmosphere is fine. If we touch space but are suborbital, that's even better. Let's launch. Woo! Okay, stability is good so far. SAS is going fine. We're climbing at a little over 100 right now. No aerodynamic stresses yet. We probably will get some, and when you do get the aerodynamics, I think, you know, that drag means a certain amount of, you know, loss of efficiency, but it's just kicking in now as we're getting near the end of our solid fuel booster, so it's not going to be too terribly dramatic, and we're not burning liquid fuel at this point. Detach that. Start the next stage. Whoa! I should have started it right away. Hang on. Come on. Shite, 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 shite. Okay, there we go. Come on. Okay, what I will do next time is I will make this light the same time we get the separation, because we can't stay stable. I'm just mostly... Well, no. What are we at? There we go. I think we can go ahead and do the 45-degree turn. Oh, it tips over. We are very top-heavy. Okay. All right, we got this. I can get this. What I'm going to do is have this light at the same time we do the separation, so that way the gimbal can kick in right away to keep us stable with the SAS. We are incredibly top-heavy. It's actually very hard to stay stable. Okay, so I'm going to... Well, I guess I'm going to separate that out now. Wow! It makes... Wow, look at the center of mass on that bad boy. That is crazy. I guess because of the double fuel tank. Now, I'm hoping... I didn't actually check that we were draining both fuel tanks. I'm pretty sure we were. So we're still climbing right now. We got 19K. Ooh, 26.5K, like marathon distance. Oh, I'm mean to trash. 450 meters a second, more kilometers, more meters. Okay, lots of height records. We certainly got a lot of money. That's going to be good. We are indeed in the upper atmosphere, but there's no way that we are going to end up in actual space. No, we're going to peak at about 30,000 meters. Right about now, which is okay. So now's a good time for us to do all our science before I forget. Observe the material bay. Rarefied air has caused interesting changes to gel samples. It seems like something is happening with the interior structure. 22.5 science by itself. Lovely. Let's open up both goos. Obviously, the second one won't give us as much. The goo seems to be getting very cold now. We'll get 9 from that one. We'll get substantially less from the other one, even though it will say 9. We'll get less on the final report, but it's still worth getting a little bit extra. We'll get a crew report. We can't EVA. You wonder what is down there on the surface. Only had some binoculars. 4.5 science from that, and we'll just keep it as is. Perfect. Now, we can, I believe, technically deploy the chute. We need a certain amount of pressure before it'll come out at all, and then it only fully deploys at 500. Yeah. If I go ahead. So I've activated the deploy on the chute, but it won't actually trigger probably until we get into this medium blue here, which is fine. Normally, I think you can wait until you're about like 10K from the surface. But we're fine. The only question I just realized... Okay, good. I just realized that this module here might have burned up. If we were getting actual sort of temperature stress from our re-entry, which we are not. I mean, we're a little bit warm. This is the temperature overlay. But no, we're fine. I mean, we're not getting any flames or whatever. If we'd gone high enough to get into space and then come back down and gotten like the flame burn, which by the way, is not from friction. It's actually from compression of the air that causes the heat up. Then it might have been bad. I'm thinking what you can do though is you can put a heat plate beneath this. And that might be the thing to do. I know you can put a heat shield. And I don't think you need one with your normal command module. I don't think it makes sense. But maybe having one down there makes a lot of sense. Probably it does. So we'll try that next time. Looks like we don't have to worry about our legs because we are going to land in the ocean. And this should be fine. This should survive the entry, the landing onto the ocean. We are bleeding off a little bit of vertical speed, and as soon as we hit 500 meters, it will fully deploy the chute and should slow us down. I suspect with the amount of weight we've got here, we'll probably be looking at 7.5, maybe 8 meters per second, something along there. And I think that won't destroy this, even though we're hitting the water, because I think the water cushions the blow a little bit. Because this module here has a crash rating of 7 meters per second. But I think if we're going a little faster than that, but we're landing in the water, it'll survive. And I hope so. I mean, it won't destroy our ship if that gets blown up, but we'll lose the valuable science within. If that does happen, on our next flight, we actually throw an antenna there. We don't get as much science from transmitting the material samples or the goo, but we can still recover some of it, which might be nice. Let's see what happens. We're about ready to do full deployment. A bit wibbly wobbly. Oh, I could turn off the SAS here so that the actual drag points us properly. Okay. Oh, we're actually going to be well slow. Well slow. Even if we were landing on ground, we wouldn't even need the legs. This is below 7 meters. Actually, the crash of this might be 6. I don't remember. But in any case, I'm sure we're going to be fine. We should be able to recover all of the science. So we had a successful upper atmosphere flight. And we learned a few things. Oh, I always thought that was pollution. I didn't realize you could see through some of the water here. Oh, that's cool. Okay. I mean, a bit of a weird streaky texture there. Excellent. Excellent. I'm not going to do any sort of EVA or anything like that. We're simply going to go recover the vessel. Get lots of delicious science. Boom. Look at this. Material study from Kerbin's upper atmosphere. Worth so much. And the goo, even that second goo container gave us 2, which ain't bad. Alright. Got most of our parts back. Well, not most of our parts. We got some parts back. Not the engines, but that's okay. We completed so many quests. We should have plenty of money. Jebediah has leveled up. Good. Let's take a look to see if the... Right. No, we still don't have that because we need to... We haven't escaped the atmosphere. Right. Okay. That's fine. So back to the drawing board. Oh, I got enough science. Hold on. I should be able to unlock something. Attends une minute. We could have gotten a lot more height if we were consistently pointing up. That would have made a difference. But we do have enough for the next bit, and advanced rocketry is quite cool. It does give us the bigger fuel tanks. Again, it's just double the weight, double the capacity. Although maybe not double the height, so it might be a little bit better. The Thud liquid fuel engine. I don't know what the deal with this one is. We'll have to see what advantages... Wow, that is a lot of vectoring. That's a lot of vectoring on that bad boy. And then we've got the Terrier, which is really good as a final stage because it's light, which is okay once you're up there. Or it's light, so it doesn't give you as much thrust, but that's okay while you're up there. In exchange, it's quite light. So as a final stage, it should be plenty of juice. We're going to grab that. I think better than slightly more science, flight control. We get better winglets, inline reaction wheel, inline cockpit. We'll live without aviation as well. General construction. It does give it these strut connectors, which are quite cool, but we can live without it. Just random fuselage, bigger decouplers and things. Launch stability enhancers. We don't need any of that. Where do you get the thing that lets you transfer fuel from one tank to another? It must come later, because we don't have it yet, right? It's like a yield. Oh, this one here. Fuel systems. Yeah, because that allows us to do cool stuff. All right, I'm going to go advanced rocketry, because, you know, rockets. Okay, back to the drawing board. So, we do need more oomph. It doesn't really have to come at the start, though, because honestly, it's more of a speed problem at that point. What if, and I don't know that this is better, but instead of the solid rocket booster, what if we went straight to liquid? And then we could maybe moderate down our throttle to prevent aerodynamic stresses. You know what? I don't know if this is going to get any higher, but I really want to know what it's going to do. It's sort of experiments here. Let's also tweak the second layer here. We're going to remove that, remove these 2 fuel tanks, and instead just use a proper T400. Because it's literally double the weight, double the fuel. Slightly more convenient. Is it double the price as well? Slightly less than double the price. There we go. But ultimately, we're going to keep that as is. Then, let me string 2 of these together. And use simply the Reliant. Oh, it's a lot shorter. Although that also means lighter. I have no idea how that's going to work out. Let's throw on the 4 fins. Actually, 3 might be... I bet you 3 will be more than enough stability. 3 fins also gives you complete control over all your axes. And then, let me detach from here. Let me go ahead and add that heat shield. Because if I check, can I get stats on the Science Junior? No. So, Science here. Max temp is 3,400. You can't fuel cross feed through it. This max temp is 1,200. So I don't know where we got, but, you know, curious. And let's throw that in there. So it's technically, I mean, it's a smaller, lighter shuttle. I don't know how this is going to work. Well, all we can do is compare. I have no idea how the solid fuel versus the liquid fuel compares to one another. So, let's find out. Experimentation. This is my favorite part of the game. This is why I didn't want to be too spoiled. Again, I don't want the step-by-step guides. I want to be like, let's experiment and see how... I mean, I guess we could calculate. We can find out the thrust of all our components and the weight of our vessel. That seems very precarious. And based on that, we could probably calculate exactly how much we'll have to go. Activate the SAS. Full throttle to launch. Oh, I forgot. You know what? I'll make that adjustment here. You can do it on the fly. Because I want, and it doesn't really matter what order they're in here, but it feels better this way. On stage 2, I want to separate and then instantly fire the next stage so that we get our gimbal control right away, which is important because we're a little bit top heavy and we won't have the fins on the second stage. All right, let's see what happens. So I don't know when the aerodynamic stress really starts to hit. Right now our speed is still fine. Oh no, we're not going to have enough liquid fuel. It's too heavy for the this. We might have to use some side boosters, but I was really hoping to avoid it, just because the Mercury launch, at least, you know, I've got a picture here of Mercury 3, doesn't have the side boosters that get detached. Alright, I'm going to start throttling down a bit. To, is that 2/3? Yeah. That's what the space shuttle does. Now, I assume there's a linear ratio. If we're getting 2/3 the thrust, we're burning 2/3 the fuel. Actually, maybe I should have tried to get through the first part as soon as possible. Now we're in the thinner atmosphere, so we presumably get more efficiency. We are tipping over a wee bit. The SAS can only do so much. Okay, we're almost done with the first stage. I'm going to do a fully throttle up, detach, and then get that one going full right away to separate out, and then again pull back to 2/3. Actually, this is working pretty well. Let's do our 45 degree to the east turn. Overall height will be a little less, which is maybe not what we're looking for in a sense, but we will get distance credit. So we did want more height so we could technically go into space and get some science there. So by doing this, I'm not going to get as much height, and therefore we may not get into space. Oh, we are technically on an orbital path now. Oh, shoot, yeah. Cut the engines. If we got here with a little bit more fuel, we would technically be able, we'd be well into orbit, because you only have to get above 70,000 to get out of the atmosphere, at which point you don't have to worry about atmospheric drag, and then it's just, you know, adjusting your course to orbit. We're getting good distance credit over here, which is good, so we'll get some extra points for that. In fact, while we still can't go orbital, when I do get to the apoapsis, which is a hell of a hard word to say, when I get to the zenith of my path over here, I think I will do a burn, a 90-degree burn, to go as far as we can. We'll get more credit for distance. Boom. And some extra cash and some extra fame. Altitude record, 70K. I bet you there'll be a record for 100K. Escape the atmosphere. Woohoo! Okay, so we got... Now, we didn't goof around. Our second stage went a lot better. But I think that this really did work better than the solid rocket boosters. Solid rocket boosters, I think, because they generate so much drag, because they go so fast, I think you really only want them to help you with your initial liftoff, if anything, and then ditch them, like, as soon as possible. So those really long solid rocket boosters, I think, are only needed for the absolute heaviest ships that need, like, everything possible, quite a long solid rocket boost burn, just to get that first kilometer off the ground. So yeah, we'll still cross the 100,000 mark. Let's go ahead and tilt over towards, this is our prograde point, which means we're facing directly along our path, but that's going to keep shifting. So in fact, what I'm looking for is to get to the 90 degree over here. Also, I should probably science at this point. So let's go ahead and do that. Boom, 25 science. Get a crew report. I still can't EVA. Which I wouldn't want to EVA if I'm suborbital. That sounds like a good way to get people killed if they're still outside the pod when we come down. We'll do a double goo. 10 science. Again, this one will be maybe 3 science in the second one, ultimately, once it all comes together. I wish you can close these up. It feels weird that you would re-enter with all this stuff. Okay. I'm at my point. Let's go ahead and do a burn. And keep facing towards prograde over here, because now the prograde is where we want it. There we go, the end of our burn. I will ditch that backwards, and I will turn retrograde, which I will have to keep making some adjustments here. But what I want to make sure I'm doing is I want to make sure my butt end is facing towards the atmosphere. It's got the heat shield. We're going to find out if that heat shield works properly or not, or if we've designed something that will explode the materials bay. Hopefully it won't explode everything else, even if this does overheat. But I'm hoping that the heat shield, you know, does as advertised. So I'm going to have to keep tilting here so we're prograde as we come down. But if we look, I mean, we are going to come down, and we're not going to come down right there, because once we enter the atmosphere, the drag is going to pull us short a little bit, and especially once we get our chute open as well. So we'll probably splash down over here, but we'll still land in the water, which means we still don't need our landing struts. And let me check here. If I hit G, they will retract, which does nothing, and hit G again. Indeed, I do not need to shift G. Okay, that's good to know. And bring them back in. They do look really cool. And we are on our way down. I think in the end we'll probably have something like this on re-entry. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and accelerate. Can time warp quite a bit. It'll automatically de-time warp us a little once we enter the atmosphere. There we go, because it limits us up to time 4. I'm still going to go up to at least times 2 over here. I want to make sure to be able to respond. Oh, you know what I didn't properly do is look around when we're in space. Look, there's our target. Our first target, the moon. Beautiful planet, lots of water. Nothing to look at. There we go. This is our last debris. It'll eventually crash land and we'll hear it. That was our second stage, our middle stage over there. Well, I'd say this is pretty good. This is, in fact, very similar to the very first manned Mercury mission. They just went up suborbital and then came down. Okay, let's make sure we are properly pointing there. I think we can turn off the SAS because I think the... I'm wrong. Let's say the aerodynamics will keep us pointed the right way. All right, buddy. So I can turn on the probe. It's enabled. But it'd be nice if you could mouse over the parts and find out the temperature. Shit, that worked. I don't know ultimately what temperature this got. I know you can get some extra debug information with what, like Alt F12 or whatever. But there we go. Okay. We are going to successfully re-enter. Turn off the SAS, and I just want curious to see what happens. Oh, and we're low enough, I could deploy the chute. It'll go into drogue mode, slow us down. And with the shootout, you definitely want to turn the SAS off so that we get the proper, we'll get angled properly from the chute itself. We'll slash down. Hopefully mission control can find us. A very, very successful launch. It would only take a little bit more bang for our buck to be able to enter orbit. In fact, we could probably do it with this ship. Well, we could easily do it with the ship if we didn't have the science module and we're saving some weight. And the fact of the matter is, we have science from space. I don't know. I actually have to look up the wiki again. I don't know if you get extra science when you're in proper orbit as opposed to suborbital. I suppose we may as well bring this one way or another. We got a working module over here. Plus, if we get lucky and land in a different biome, we can get some extra science. But if I've already used it, then I can't. So maybe not. Nice sun. So our next mission in the next video will be to properly enter orbit. And in fact, if I've got the money, I may go ahead and upgrade the astronaut center so we could try to EVA if it comes up. Well, there we go. Sploosh. I'm not going to go out into the ocean. Hopefully I remembered science, all the things. Remarkably easy. Well, not easy, but like remarkable success given that we didn't need to go with an ultimately very complicated spaceship. Our ultimate payload is super light here, so you don't need wicked amounts of juice. 50 science from this mission. We're now sitting at 62. Very happy with that. No XP gained. I don't know why, but all right. I don't suppose we got a new set of missions. We do! By completing the first orbit, we get a set of missions now. Okay, expires in duration. Okay, so this is when we can no longer take the mission, and that's how long we got to complete it, I think. How to ferry some people to safety, tourists. Visual surveys of Kerbal. Take a crew report in flight below 17 kilometers near a certain sector. Ooh. Test the engine when we're both landed and on Kerbin. So the landed would mean we'd have to launch with the swivel engine as opposed to launch with the reliable engine. Still, that should be relatively easy to do. It's not a huge reward. And expires in 5 hours. Oh, wow. Oh, they all expire. Well, not all of them, but quite a few of them expire very quickly. Test the hammer. At Kerbin. At the launch site. Oh, wait, no, all we have to do is land again. It seems incredible. Learn was really gross, exaggerated. Let's test. Test liquid fuel engine landed at Kerbin. Perform the test to activate the part through the staging sequence when all conditions are met. So yeah, we have to activate this when we're at Kerbin and currently in a landed state. And this one, technically, we don't have to be in a landed state, but we have to be at the launch site, which is effectively the same thing. I see no reason why we wouldn't take this. The rewards aren't huge, but there's something. And this is 5 hours. Okay, I will take that one. I wonder if these keep refreshing or not. A visual survey expires really, really soon. Some money, some fame as well. Below 17. This is like a plane kind of mission. Oh man, I don't know about these. Weasley Poodle. Rocco Max brand decoupler while in orbit around Kerbin. I don't know what missions we're going to want to take here. It seems I should grab this one while it's there. It's still some fame, which is something. I wonder if the location... I think it gets added... Oh. Oh, I still have the orbit mission, right. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Good. I'm okay with this. Alright, so next episode, we are going to try for an orbit. We might do that quick little test just to get it out of our queue. Just a little from here. Because I think very much if we're going to orbit, we're not going to launch with the swivel engine. Because it doesn't have quite as much thrust as the Reliant. So what we might do is use the exact same rocket we used last time, but put on some solid rocket boosters on the side, just for a little extra oomph to start off with. We'll see how it goes. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and I'll see you guys next time.